All right. And it's Monday, December the 4th, or Tuesday, December the 5th. And this is the Open Hearted Practice Group with Jory and Jim. And today our topic is the joy of giving. And we've been spending a lot of time recently talking about gratitude and what it's like to receive. And so I thought we would turn it around today and talk about the joy of giving. And how are you?
How am I? Good question. I was just sitting here working on making rooms and tuned into myself actually in this moment. I feel a sense of relaxation, a sense of belonging that comes up for me when we all come in together, and it's really sweet. I especially appreciate that we come a little early and we just get to schmooze a little. So thank you all for coming. That's really sweet. And we'll see what we learned today, huh?
Yeah. And I'm feeling curious to find out what you guys will think about the material that that we will present. I used to really plan my workshops like maybe days in advance, and now I'm much more into trusting beloved divine energy. So I sat down about a half an hour ago, maybe 45 minutes ago, and I thought, what would be fun way to explore the joy of giving? And then ideas just poured out of me. And so it's probably overly ambitious, but we'll see if we can get through all 4 practices. It's a lot of chance for you to connect with yourself, do some self-empathy, some exploration of your own feelings and needs, and then also a chance to connect with friends in small groups. It's funny, I have a weird intuition about the self-connection exercise, so I'm going to follow it.
Oh,
I'm going to
adventure.
I'm going to share a little bit about I call it Grandpa Jim's slideshow, and I'm going to share a little bit about the Bali IIT. Since you guys were there with us in spirit, I thought it might be fun to just share a few of the highlights. I won't go through I won't make it a really boring grandpa's slideshow, but since the topic is compassionate giving or the joy of giving, I want to at least start with a couple of things. So let's just take a moment and connect with ourselves first to prepare for this feast of color that you're about to see. And make room in your heart for whatever happens next. And what I mean by that is just start with right where you are. And just notice how you're feeling. Checking your body for sensations. Attending to tension or stress or discomfort with some loving warmth towards yourself. As emotions rise, bring that same compassion towards yourself that you would give a friend, either celebrating the life-affirming feelings or mourning together and empathizing with any feelings of disconnection. Just noticing feelings, naming them for yourself. Then allow yourself to have this human experience. And one way to support yourself in allowing the experience that you're having is connected to needs. What needs are alive in you right now? I'm going to show a couple of pictures from the Bali IIT. So when we gathered for the first night, this mandala of flowers greeted us. This was put together by the Balinese team as a gift to the IIT community. This is around 25 to 30 feet in diameter. And it's got hundreds, if not thousands, but certainly hundreds of individual flowers placed on this mandala. And if you're curious about the what looks like grass in the bottom right-hand corner of the image, that's rice, which of course is a sacred food for the Balinese. And all of these flowers have some kind of meaning, I imagine, to the Balinese. And another gift they gave related to this mandala is they gave Jim and Jory the gift of placing the last two flowers on the mandala. And they didn't tell us where they went. They said it was a test. And so we had to find the place in the mandala where the flowers were missing and place them. And that was a lot of fun. And so just to give you a little flavor about what they also gave us each a little offering basket. So compassionate giving is a huge part of Balinese culture, and it's a spiritual kind of giving. They're very connected to nature, very connected to their spiritual and religious path, which includes lots of giving of gifts to the gods. So they gave us examples of these little baskets. There's one particular woman that's on the staff of the place where the IIT was held, whose only job is to carry around these baskets all over the property. It's probably 15 acres or something like that, pretty big place, and place these little baskets of acknowledgement, including incense and maybe some food as offerings to the gods. So that's kind of the spirit that we were in. This is the room that we were in. So this,
the upstairs of it.
yeah, this is like the stage part. And let me go back to this for just a second. So we're actually, there'll be another place, another picture in just a moment, but it's literally a Balinese temple that we're doing the IIT in. And so this is part of what I think created the spiritual vibe for me.
Yeah, and just to get a sense of it also, you can kind of see it in the distance. There weren't walls around it.
Yeah.
So it's just wide open.
We'll get to that place where I think so there was some Balinese, this is another gift we received. This is a candidate that gave us the gift of Balinese dance. She may become the first certified trainer in Indonesia. And oops. I think that's, let me see, let me go to the, see if there's anything else here that I really wanted to show you. Yeah, so this is the larger view of the training room. We didn't have a chair set up like this, of course. We did it NVC style with a big circle.
But this was, I think, just before we did all the celebrations and did our presentations and games and things like that.
Yeah. And let's see, there might be one more. Oops. To show you here. Well, I just want to share one other little picture that after Bali, we went to Japan and we had a candidates retreat. So these are some of our brothers and sisters in Japan. Yuko was in Bali with us. She's a certified trainer from Japan, her husband Go, and Mikiko and Haruno are also certified trainers. The rest are candidates. So this is the next generation of NVC in Japan. Very exciting.
Didn't she just get certified?
She's really on the edge. This is the one who just got certified. This is Yukari. She's our most recent. She's the big celebration here is Yukari is the first Japanese trainer that is not bilingual. So the first trainer that's just a Japanese speaker, which is a huge leap for NVC in Japan. it opens up all kinds of possibilities now. And here in the West, of us English speakers, we are wealthy with resources for NVC. Until just a couple of years ago, there was only one book, Marshall's book, available in Japanese. And now more and more books are being translated and published and being made available. So it's just a thrill to be a part of NVC growing in both in Indonesia and in Japan. And we also had Lu Yi as part of our Balinese training team. And she is she was the first certified trainer on mainland China. And so she was there as well. And we also now have our first non-English speaking Chinese trainers as well. So we're making great progress in Asia in terms of sharing NVC there. So that's Grandpa Jim's slideshow. So now just check in with yourself again and be grateful that I didn't show you the other 48 pictures. But just notice how you feel having had that experience.
He loves it when I laugh at his jokes.
Yes, you're hired. And just see what's alive in you now after sharing this with us and with one another. We're going to open up rooms in just a moment for you guys to check in with each other. And we're going to do it for 13 minutes plus one. Oh, it's a random number.
Yeah.
And Jory's birthday is on the 13th, so that's why I chose 13. So we'll celebrate Jory's birthday on the 13th by having 13 minutes of check-in today. And so what do you do in the check-in? It's just a chance to practice all three modes of NVC. You get a chance to stay in this self-connection that you've been cultivating for the last 12 minutes or so. And then to share from that foundation, your honesty. Be as honest as you'd like to be with the other couple of folks in your group. You can talk about how boring Jim's slideshow was, or how inspiring it was, or whatever your living experience is. Then when you're listening to the other folks in your group, it's your chance to practice empathy, to just to let the content in, to take it in as observations and information, but to focus on feelings and needs of the person speaking. And that's likely to support a quality of connection. Okay, so if you don't want to be in a small group, quickly put an equal sign in front of your name and Jory will take you out of the group. Tell me when you're ready to go.
Almost. It's someone who just joined.
Okay.
Just got them in, and
if you're in a group with just two, you might have someone else show up. Oops, there's an equal sign.
Oops. Okay. Wow. Give me a sec here while I adjust someone here. Okay. One sec. Okay.
Decisions.
There's going to be a group of four.
Oh, there's another equal sign that solves your problem for you.
Okay. Don't want to do. All right, so we have this one move up here.
Perfect.
All right.
Push that open all rooms button, and we'll see you guys in 14 minutes.
Okay.
Enjoy connecting.
Bye-bye. See you soon. Almost hit close again because nothing was happening.
Okay.
Zooming back.
I'm glad to see you all back here. And I'm curious what you'd like to share with the large group. What's alive in you now? Any feedback about what's happened in the last 28 minutes, or even the 15 minutes before when some of us were hanging out? What's alive in you now? Anybody who'd like to share can raise your hand by clicking on the raise hand button on the bottom of the screen, or the reaction button. Go ahead, Ellen.
Yeah, I mourn that there is not enough time for Elspeth to finish her sharing. Yeah, wishing to listen to the complete story of hers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I regret that the timing doesn't always work so that everybody gets a chance to be fully heard. So hopefully there'll be, if things go well, there'll be a few other opportunities to connect. And we'll keep the groups more or less the same, depending on who comes and goes. Tanya?
I would really love it if Lynn would be willing to say to you what she said to me and Jeff in our small group about you.
Welcome to the spot, Lynn.
Well, I said Tanya was saying how much she enjoys you all and appreciates you and stuff. And that some of the other trainers don't have a spiritual leading. And I said that I had studied with Marshall many, many, many years ago. And I've studied with different people in between, but that you all feel closer to Marshall than anybody else I've known, and that I really appreciate that.
Oh, wow. Well, that's a pretty high pedestal to put us on, so I'll prepare to fall down. But
we do catchies of it.
yeah, thank you for the acknowledgement. That's fun to take in. I appreciate that, Ben.
Yeah, thank you.
And Tanya, thank you for putting her on the spot. You made my day. Elspeth?
Just responding to Alan's request, I think the three of us all being international people just really hit home in our conversation about the workshops in Bali, and also in that world that things are happening in Gaza and other places in the world. I think we're all very touched talking with each other about the very real need for NVC in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And just so beautiful to be able to talk interculturally. And that, and, you know, between identities. It's so wonderful to have this something so safe about having a framework and a language to be able to cross so many boundaries that so many other human beings find it so difficult to be able to navigate. So just immense gratitude, and just immense being so moved in the realness of this work.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for being a pioneer. You guys are all the pioneers. You know, the ones who are going ahead of most of the planet, because you know, I think we've sold, Marshall sold something like 6 million books or something like that now. But how many billions of people are on the planet that haven't even heard of NVC yet? So we all have our work cut out for us. The more that we can live the process, the better off we'll all be. Thanks, Elspeth. Karen?
Thank you.
Yeah, amen to what you just said. That last sentence. Keep going. And don't give up. And that's my banner tonight. I was touched and happy to see your slideshow, and encouraged with seeing the spread of NVC into Japan and Indonesia and Bali. This work is so living in my heart, and that's celebration. And at the same time, I'm experiencing that tender place where celebration and grief live right next to each other in my heart right now, because I have again offered my 6-week NVC class to my spiritual community, and twice in a row, not enough people have signed up. And with that, I'm realizing that this is not the right place for me. And I'm grieving. I'm grieving that I must leave this. I must leave this place to go find a place that is open for my teaching, so I can lead people to you guys and to the greater NVC system.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling grief and celebration at the same time.
Grief and celebration, they are twins, and I really catch your grief. You're longing your deep longing to contribute to your spiritual community. And when you offer twice now and don't get enough signups, how disappointing that is, how much that stimulates a quality, I guess, of despair in you. You have this gift that you imagine would really support your spiritual community, and they don't seem to be quite willing to take it yet.
Yeah, beautiful reflection. And at the core of that is my love of the principle of unity. That's the basis of both places. So I grieve when it's not seen, you know, and I'm missing that shared reality and completely baffled. It's like, I don't understand why you can't see it. I don't understand. I can see it so clearly that unity is being taught in both places, but anyway, we're still early in this game, aren't we?
We still are.
We are.
Yeah.
We really are. And it actually stimulates a question for me of how many people are enough for you to go forward?
It's a class of 8 is minimum. And I had that before, and I was a highly rated teacher, but I can't duplicate it. And there's no interest or curiosity.
I see.
And when you say 8, is that a requirement someone else is putting on you?
Yeah, my spiritual
Oh.
community. Yeah, in order for the class to run.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you can't do it with less people in that
No.
community.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah.
Because we've done it for 2 or 3 sometimes, and
Yeah.
I just
I wish
checking.
I would love to teach even 2 or 3.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I see 2 more hands up, but I do want to say a quick story
Yeah.
about Marshall.
Thanks.
And this,
Yes.
now this, I'm pretty sure Marshall told me this story, and it might have been in a workshop, but I haven't found it written down anywhere. But so Marshall's finally ready to launch nonviolent communication, or whatever it was calling it at the very beginning. And so he rented a church hall somewhere in Texas, Sherman, Texas, I think it was. And, you know, he got there early, set up his flip charts. He was really, he put posters up around town and all the things we do to promote NVC. So this is probably about 1981 or something like that. And so he arrives there, he's got everything just right. And he's waiting and waiting and waiting. And only one person comes to the workshop. And so Marshall greets her, goes and sits down next to her. They start having a conversation. They decide that she wants to learn the material he wants to offer. So she becomes his first audience of one. And they get this great connection going. And this woman becomes Marshall's financial benefactor for the next, I don't know how long. She ends up being the person that helps Marshall really launch his career because he was willing to stay.
Exactly.
And that has always inspired me.
Yeah.
Because I remember the first time I first started to teach, the only people that came were my mom, my best friend, and the minister at the church. And it was like, so I really could empathize with Marshall, and for all of us who have this gift to share. And yet, you know, I think it's in somewhere in some scripture that talks about many are called, but few are chosen. So we keep calling and calling and calling, and eventually some people will choose the path, hopefully, of compassion and peace. Thanks, Karen. Rob.
Yeah. I feel a lot of pain with the Middle East, and I just wanted a point of information. If you know, I know weren't there Palestinian and Israeli groups meeting at one point. I wonder if they're still
Years
meeting.
ago, I remember Marshall had them.
Oh yeah, and John Kenyon.
Yeah.
Several NVC trainers have traveled there. There have been at least 1 or 2, maybe 3 IITs that were joint IITs between Israelis and Palestinians. And we weren't at any of those, but we heard wonderful stories of connection, and it was not easy. It was not easy.
Oh yeah,
to build that sense of connection, but eventually they found a way to communicate and connect.
Beautiful. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and thanks for just naming the pain.
Yeah.
I'm imagining that all of us here are suffering. I mean, I can't even read the news, really.
I can't read it either.
I glance at it and warn it, and then move on to the next thing to glance at and warn. I mean, it's just one thing after another. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, how do we build a heart big enough to hold all that mourning?
Yeah, and it is important that we take care of ourselves, that we're not
Mm.
reading these things without getting some balance too, because although there are some needs not met, there are needs that are met. And to savor that as well. And sometimes it just takes time.
Yeah.
We've all had a lot of opportunity to know what it's like to want to have something, and we just got to wait for the right time for it.
Yeah.
And so hang in there. Yeah, and thank you all for being here. And because we've had that experience too. It's okay if only one or two people show up, but it really makes a much bigger difference when I get to look at all of you and know that you're also contributing, that we're community, that things are building together. Thank you. And now I see
Jeff.
Jeff has his hand up.
Yeah, thank you so much for the pictures. I'll take a slideshow like that any day. You gave me a gift of seeing things in Bali. I was there half my life ago, so like 26 years ago, and just seeing the little basket and listening to you talk about the gratitude with which they're given and the importance of that and the culture. It was a real gift to me. And yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. And thanks for naming that mandala again and that gift, because I want to tell you the rest of the story now before we launch into the practice. So this beautiful, a lot of folks were here at the very beginning of the call, so I showed a few slides from our Bali IIT, and this was one of the slides or pictures. And this is a mandala that was created by the Balinese and the Indonesian community as a gift to the other 100 of us that were there. There are about 20 people from Bali and Indonesia and about 100 of other folks. And so this was about 25, 30 feet in diameter, if my memory serves me correctly. It's all made of individual flowers. And this is what was present for us at our opening session. And it stayed there for about a day, and then it disappeared. It was a real experience of the beauty of impermanence, and how something that can be so delicious and something to really savor doesn't last. So then we started finding other things to savor in Bali, and there it's almost like we had to work with beauty fatigue. There was just so much beauty in this place. And yet right outside, the gates of the retreat center, the rest of Bali exists. And this is a packed island. It's about 10 times the size of Bali, 8 times the size of Bali, but they have like 6 or 7 million people packed onto this island, and the streets and the roads are just jammed. It's like the Indianapolis 500 of mopeds and bicycles and noisy trucks, and oh, it's just so intense. And then you walk through the gates where the IIT is, and it's just you just ascend into peace. There's a remarkable contrast. Really, really something. So anyway, that's the rest of the story.
Yeah, and Rena's shaking her head. She remembers. She was there.
Rena and Ellen and maybe somebody else.
Ellen.
May I add a little
Please.
piece around the Balinese community, because there was so much interest in learning NVC in their local language, bringing it to their own families and community and work. So it was very special to connect with the local Rena, and then when you show this mandala, I have a sense of all the faces and the hands and the people who felt such immense joy of being included, in the sense of having the courage to step into this world, which was so different than their own, vis-a-vis culture and language and all that.
Yeah.
Beauty many of them had in their villages and fields, but this whole thing of stepping into a world which scary. You know, there was a lot of pre-preparation by Rena and some of us where they felt welcomed, and towards the end they felt they belonged. So I'm celebrating that as well, Jim and Jory and Ellen, with all of you, that yeah, there's an initial fear, but the connection and listening, that it's okay, come, we are together. Yeah,
And I want
those
to
are
acknowledge the part that you played in that, Rena. You gave many gifts, probably 10,000 that I don't even know about. To help. You went there before the IIT started, and you worked with people, and you met Rena, and you started setting up systems and so forth. And you were there as the advocate for the local people, and constantly calling us back to care for all needs equally. And I really appreciate your reminders and your efforts on behalf of the whole community. So thank you. How do you feel?
Thank you. I can safely say that those who wanted to be there were there. We did not miss out on anyone. I can safely say that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Ellen, who was also there.
Yeah, I want to share the other side of it that I realized when I attended one of the session in IIT. It's about power differences. And the trainer asked the participants to make a line according to the power they have in this IIT. And they quickly formed the line with the people from affluent countries in one extreme and Balinese people, and from African in the other end of the line. And what really broke my heart is when one of the people on the end of the most powerful ones in the IIT say that he didn't even realize that they are there. The people, the Balinese people, and he didn't even know their names. He didn't even have one time hanging out with them. It's really heartbreaking.
Yeah, really heartbreaking. Yeah. Yeah, I catch that morning around having a sense of, I like the word equivalence, where everybody's needs have an equal value and everybody has equal access to their power to share with one another. That's what I aim for. I was lucky in that I went there in this role as assessor. And so I had automatic connection with many of the Balinese because many of them were candidates. And that really helped, and other Indonesians that were there. And so I got a quality of support that maybe not everybody got because of just the circumstances of my privilege going there as a trainer and as an assessor. Yeah. Thanks, Ellen. Anything else for you? Anything else you want to say, Ellen? You're complete for now? Okay, great. Okay. Yeah, you need to do the slideshow right now.
Okay, good.
So, or the practice. Today we're gonna transition now into the joy of giving. So just take a moment to drop into yourself and mark this transition from our check-in and the emotional experiences that we've been sharing for the last 45 minutes. See if you can check your heart. Has it stretched to hold the celebrations in the morning? Can we grow a heart big enough to be happy with the needs that are satisfied and yet still mourn, even with the quality of despair, as yet unsatisfied needs for equality, peace, love, shared power. And part of what I'm hoping for with today's presentation is you will get a chance to see some of your power and how every interaction that you have in the world is an opportunity to live NVC. And just to remind us of the purpose of nonviolent communication, it's to create a quality of connection that inspires compassionate giving and receiving. And we've been doing a lot of work the last couple of weeks with receiving and connecting with gratitude. And I thought it would be fun at this time of the year, the holiday season, to start really examining what are our motivations for giving as well. So the simple way to express the purpose of NVC is just to make life wonderful. So life isn't wonderful for many of us, and life isn't even wonderful for all of us at some point. So what can we do to make life more wonderful? And together, I want to see if we can explore a little bit about what gets in the way of compassionate giving. So we've got some practices. The first practice is about giving when you're on the hook. And what I mean by giving when you're on the hook is this: when there's some kind of a sense in yourself that you have to give. So, for example, when a bill comes in the mail for a credit card or an electric bill, a utility bill, a water bill, or something like that, or you're at there's some sort of a have to associated. That's what I mean by being on the hook. It doesn't feel like there's a choice about this giving. So see if you can think of an expense that you have to pay, and then write down what's the observation, what's an example for you of an expense that you have to pay. It might be rent or mortgage, car payment or insurance, but pick one to work with and write it down. What's the expense? You're ready to transition into the second question. Notice the quality of your thinking about the observation, and notice how you feel in your body. So pay attention to your whole emotional experience, especially sensations and emotions. And first, notice these sensations and emotions. And then name them. So, like, for example, when I think of a bill that comes in, I tell myself I have to pay this, or else, and there's some kind of a threat. I'll lose the insurance on my house, for example. And I feel a sense of helplessness. I really want to keep my house, and yet I have to come up with this money if I want to stay here. And so there's a quality of have to energy. I must pay this bill. And I feel it in my body. I feel a constriction in my chest. What do you notice? So first notice it and then name it. And if you want to put it in the chat, that can be helpful for others that might be newer to this practice.
would like.
Okay. It's in dryness. It's not relational, resistance, tension. Sense my heart is aching. Tightness over the back of my heart, lungs. All that resonates for me when I'm in this mode of getting on the hook. Why? Why do you feel this way? What are the needs that are alive in you that are leading you to feel these feelings? And again, you can put them into the chat if you'd like. It might inspire others. I think for me, it boils down to choice. Security. If it's helpful, you can put your feelings into the first part of the sentence. You could say, I feel whatever your feeling is because blank, fill in the blank is important to me. What is it that's important to you in this moment as you consider this? It says, I feel concerned because reliability is important to me. That's the link. That's the link that will help to liberate you from the oppression of being on the hook. It doesn't get you out of paying the bill, the pain of that, but it might get you out of the suffering of separateness around paying the bill.
Yeah, that heavy judgmental thing that we have towards someone else, but it's like taking poison to ourselves. Ellen says, I feel resistant because I need the other party to connect first with me, not just pressing me to pay it.
Yeah, so it's deep
Right.
longing for connection,
Yeah.
for a human connections. That human connection is often missing from these kinds of transactions. It's just a piece of paper that comes in the mail, There's rarely any opportunity to connect and talk about it. And I don't know the people. And I think I'm being used as a profit center. And so I'm guessing the need there is for mutuality, is it, David, that you want your needs to matter as well as the needs of the person who's asking you for the money.
Yeah, some sense of balance.
Consideration. Makes sense to me. Take your time and see if you can find the because. The because is never about the other person. That might be the stimulus, they're giving you the bill, that's the observation. But the because, the reason we feel what we feel from an NVC point of view is the need that's alive in us. Anybody need any support in coming up with their need? You can raise your hand or speak up and we can make some guesses for you if you'd like. Now we'll move on to the next step. Why do you pay? What needs motivate you to pay? So in my case, thinking about this insurance bill, I pay because although I could keep my house, I'm still remembering there was just this huge fire and it was unpredictable. And although most houses don't burn down, we need to prepare in case we're in the path of a wildfire or a lightning strike or whatever. And so it's around protection, protecting our family's financial security, in my case. So it's around the need for protection. What's it about for you? What motivates you to make the exchange?
And Tanya says, I pay because I enjoy stability and predictability. Makes perfect sense. You're stabilizing yourself. Ellen says, I pay because I feel responsible to contribute to the family.
Yeah, so it's about contribution and integrity. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, it's so easy for me to connect when people share their need. I can empathize without hearing the need, but you're just making it so much easier for me as a fellow traveler on the road we're on. When you have the willingness to share your need, then I can empathize. It helps my ability to stay with you.
And notice what it's like for you. If there's a shift for you as you notice why you're paying. And sort of getting a reason for making a choice, even if you don't want to, the clarity is you are doing it for a reason.
This is about self-responsibility. So I'm helping to transform my experience when I realize that I'm doing something, maybe I don't even want to do it, but I'm doing it for a good reason. In other words, in the service of a need. When I pay, I feel relief because my need is met for integrity and choice. Yeah. For an air conditioning unit, comfort, health, care for self and family. Yeah. It's like I hear these needs and I want to say, amen. Mm-hmm. Now it's like an affirmation. Of course you're paying in the service of those needs.
Yeah, there's got to be a good reason you're doing it. Doesn't mean you have to like it, but just to really acknowledge what needs, what's important to you.
Let's pause here and hear a few reflections from people. So if you'd like to share something about what you learned so far about what we've been traveling, this road we've been traveling, please raise your hand and let us know, especially if there's something that you're celebrating or mourning about what we've done so far, if there's a need for clarity. Anybody want to share anything that hasn't been shared in the chat? What's it like for you to realize that you pay for a good reason? That's really the question I'm curious about. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, well, I mean, on the one hand, and particularly initially, there's that sense of disconnection. I don't know these people. They're just leeching off me to get money and so forth. But on the other hand, even though I don't know them, I understand that these are people who they're making a living and supporting their families and taking care of their needs, and I'm contributing to that. And they are providing me with, air conditioning, which in Arkansas in the summer is absolutely necessary. You know, there's just different ways of looking at it. And
Yeah, so it sounds like there was a shift for you into a realization of interdependence. That you see that even though you might have some resentments built up or some have to energy, that when you actually get connected to the needs, you see that this is contributing not only to you, but to them and their families as well. So it's like you humanize the process somehow. Is that
Right.
right?
Right.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else? Yeah, Lynn.
Am I muted? Well,
No, you're good.
what I realized is I don't mind paying my mortgage because when I bought this place, I agreed that I would pay a certain amount, and it's an agreement. What I really resent is that my homeowners dues in this condo association have tripled, and also my property taxes have tripled. I live in the Bay Area, and I resent that because I don't have any more money than I did. I'm retired. I don't have any more money than I did when I bought, and so that doesn't feel fair. The mortgage feels fair. The other two do not, and so I resent them. Whereas with the mortgage, I feel like, oh well, we made an agreement. This is fine.
Yeah. So in the first case with the mortgage, you feel like you made a consensual agreement. And that feels right on to you, makes sense to your body. But when you think about what appears to be more arbitrary choices made for you to raise other fees, and you didn't get included in the opportunity to agree or disagree, that's what stimulated resentment.
Yes.
And so the longing there is for a quality of connection and to have your needs heard, mattered, and cared for in a consensual way. Yeah, makes perfect sense.
Dream on.
That's the world we're working on, but it is a dream right now. Yeah.
Yeah, we have this saying, spit it in the other hand, see if it makes a difference. Something like that.
Wish in one hand, spit in the other.
Yeah,
Something
like that.
That's a Southernism.
Yeah.
Wouldn't expect the Yankee to know how to do that one. Anybody else? Then we'll do part 2. So next practice, giving by the book. So what I mean by the book, similar to what Lynn was just talking about. This is when we're entering into a transaction that has some quality of mutuality to it. So maybe an example would be you're working with you're going grocery shopping, or maybe even better, you go to the local bakery. That's rather than an impersonal grocery store. There's a chance to actually get to know the employees, and maybe go to this bakery often or whatever. But some kind of a place where it's clear to you that there's a transaction and you're making a purchase. So it could be something as simple as a loaf of bread. But think of a recent purchase that you made and write that down as the observation. Choose something that you willingly bought. Now, go to the body again. When you think about buying this, having this transaction, and remembering it right now. Notice physical sensations and emotions. Like for me, an example would be on Saturday, we went to a food truck. And I'm sure that the guy I was talking to was not the owner. He looked like a young, relatively new employee that I had never seen before. But there was such a quality of warmth and friendliness. And we ended up exchanging names, and it's a real Maui kind of experience for me, where connection here is often quite easy. So when I think about making that purchase, even though I might have a judgment in my head that food at food trucks in Maui or anything in Maui is overpriced, I feel great. I actually feel so great and grateful. I go to this food truck almost probably twice a month at least, because I really trust them and I trust the quality, and it has this feeling of warmth to me. So I feel warm and appreciative. What's it like for you? Again, if you want to share this in the chat, it might inspire other people to connect with their body. Grateful.
Empowered, joyful.
Nice.
Yeah.
Your body lets you know where you are in these transactions. It can give you real clues about your inner work, where you can release your suffering, happy, empowered, and joyful. Why? Why do you feel it? And you can use that same formula again. I feel grateful and warm because what need is important to you? In my case, it seems to be very much related to connection and trust. I feel grateful and warm because my needs for connection and trust are satisfied. What's it about for you? I really resonate with this contribution that Pooja put into the chat. This has transformed my transactions. When I see that every transaction that I'm a willing part of puts me right in the middle of interdependence, and that I'm in that land of compassionate giving and receiving. When I give them the money, they are receiving a resource that they can then use to contribute to buy more supplies for their food truck, and hopefully there's a profit for them to be able to sustain their family and so forth.
Yeah. It's really about connection, that sense of sort of connection and belonging. You know, we're in it together.
Mutuality, as Tanya
Yeah.
just put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a video once, or maybe I read it, about how the steps required to make a pencil, just a simple graphite pencil, the wooden kind, you know? And there's over 100 steps, and how many different processes are a part of this, from cutting down the wood and milling it and getting it, you know, you can just imagine. But we usually don't take the time to consider that when we're making this exchange, we're contributing to a system a system that hopefully is serving life, giving people what they need in order to survive and thrive.
Oh, I came back into the meeting.
Great, glad you're here.
Thank you very much. Ho, ho, ho.
Tally ho.
We were just listening to the Jewish Santa Claus. Santa Claus is Jewish. Hoi, hoi, Ive, he goes, or
Oh,
something.
very good. So we got a few needs on the table here. And just
Yeah.
look at the other side. Why did you buy? So the first one is what needs were alive in you when you think about buying, but what motivated me to buy the meal at the food truck? Well, it was sustenance. I was hungry. And not only that, there's a quality of beauty. This is Thai food, which is one of my favorite cuisines. And so there's something quite beautiful. Even though it's a food truck, they serve you the food in a bowl, like a real bowl that gets washed, not something that you throw into the trash can. So it also somehow meets a need for integrity with the environment and with and as I say that, I just remember that Maui was maybe one of the very first places in the country to ban single-use plastic. So there's no plastic in any of these food trucks anymore. It's all biodegradable stuff. So buying at a food truck actually can maybe somehow support the environment. There's probably people that could argue the other way around, but I like feeling that it's somehow a part of the system that we've been a part of for the last 10 million years of recycling the gifts of the earth. Karen.
Oops. You had your hand up?
Yeah, I did. I so appreciate your story, because as your story unfolded and the satisfaction that I heard, then I realized mine was a tossed salad of feelings, and I'll make it short. That it was I was totally pissed off that my knife sharpener broke just at the beginning of the holiday season. And I felt relieved to find Consumer Reports about the new one and find out that Amazon would ship it to me the same day. I felt grateful and delighted to have this new model working, sharpen my knives. And then I felt hurting when I nicked myself right away with my sharp knives. And then because of your story, I felt shocked when I read in the paper, we talk about contributing to something that's worked. Well, I felt shocked when I read in the paper that Jeff Bezos' yacht is too big to moor in Florida. So that spiraled to not the same happy story you had. I like your food truck better.
Yeah, well, I like your story too. You know, I like the image of a tossed salad of feelings, because that's always probably going to be. This is one of my main takeaways from the Bali IIT is one of the trainers. I think it was Liv Larson, but it's all kind of a blur now. Basically, made the claim that I really resonated with, that all celebrations come with some mourning. All mourning comes with some celebration. That these two sides of the coin can never be separated. So yes, that's a really great piece to acknowledge as well. Even in a clear-headed, clear-hearted transaction, there still may be mourning. I'm living in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. We do rely on Amazon because it's a little bit it's just so convenient for one thing, and we don't have a lot of the stuff that you can get on Amazon here in Maui. So, and I do feel a little clutch when I read about Jeff's yacht. Now he's a neighbor now. He owns a big piece of Maui, and he's been quite generous to donating to local charities. Not as generous as I think he should be, but I do have to admit that I am quite pleased with both him and some other Maui folks that have more money than they probably need, like Jeff and Oprah who's also a property owner here, and oh well, I could give you a long list of our wealthy neighbors, some of whom I helped to make wealthy, like Jeff, Steven Tyler of Aerosmith, and so forth. But anyway, moving on. Anybody else have anything to share about what happens for you when you enter into a wholehearted transaction of exchange, as opposed to the first exercise? What do you see as a takeaway from this, Tanya?
I think of this almost like one of those little meters that, you know, they used to have the Aplauso meter, you know, and we go over here in transactional, completely transactional, and that's unsatisfactory, and we have to go reach for a way to not see it as a submission, to see it as a choice. And then we move the meter over to relational, it becomes more enjoyable as we go. And we start talking about, we go away, we leave the realm of rights and ownership. And as we slowly go over, we go to responsibility to others and reciprocity. I'm not saying the word. Reciprocity. And we kind of like, as I'm looking at this little, it's like this little applause meter.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. That really resonates for me. And I really long to live in a world that's more on one side of that applause meter. And I'm grateful that NVC gives me the skills to shift the meter a little bit. I may not shift it all the way relationally, but at least I can connect a little bit more to the needs, even in something that's as purely transactional. Anybody else? Please love to hear more voices. Otherwise, we'll do more practices. I love hearing your voice rather than mine. Elspeth?
Yeah.
I, through this talk in the last 5 or 10 minutes, I'm realizing that the key word that stands out for me is justice. And I realize that I put quite a huge stock in being a conscientious consumer, but also in my interactions in the world. I have quite a kind of earnest conscientiousness about contributing and being thoughtful and all that kind of stuff. But I'm just realizing right now how stressful that is on me. And actually, I'm not always staying in the balance of enjoying and delighting in the contribution I'm making when I do that, and the freedom and the play of being in the world in that way. And I can see this huge opportunity suddenly to let go of quite a lot of stress and earnestness and just enjoy contributing well in life. And that's so wonderful.
Oh, my cheeks hurt from my big smile. Thank you. I really enjoyed that takeaway. Lovely. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, Ellen.
What I realized from comparing the two in the first practice, I realized that I spend so much energy in resisting, in blaming the other party that wants me to pay, while on the second, it's like, because I'm not that giving out too much energy to blaming people, I can connect more to what I really need, and that's why it's more joyful in the end, because I pay and realizing what need behind that.
Beautiful. Yeah, I remember I purchased something. This was a few years ago, and I can't remember what it was that I purchased. I wish I had a clearer observation, but I purchased it from what I thought was a pretty big company. And when it arrived, I opened up the box, and in it was a handwritten note by the person that packed the box. And they said, it was just a real brief note, but it said something like, "We hope you enjoy this product," or whatever it was. And I thought, wow, what a connecting touch to turn something that was purely transactional into something with just a little teeny tiny taste of connection. Allison.
Hi. Well, I don't purchase much these days, but I purchased a pair of socks from Costco. And they were like $11. And I just had such a nice experience about it because I know a little bit about Costco. They are one of the companies that is the largest supporter of organic farmers. And I was connecting with people that I liked. And they were giving me a beautiful pair of socks for $11. And the beauty and simplicity of this little transaction, it just made me feel good. And it reminded me of Rick Hansen, who's one of my Buddhist teachers, talking about the value of making connections with people who share your aspirations in life. So that came up for me in this
Exercise, yeah.
traveling we're doing on
Nice.
this topic. But
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. I as much as I resist the big box stores sometimes, Costco, here, at least our experience in Maui, Costco has this quality of warmth that I really enjoy. I mean, I think from what I understand, Costco treats their employees very well. They're well compensated for their time and energy and so forth. And so I like supporting places like that. Yeah. So thanks, Allison. Rob, and then we'll finish with Juliana before the next practice.
Yeah, I might be a little out of phase, but I, from being connected from the first breakout group we had, I then went in and my daughter has shaky hands for medication. She has these contacts. She can't get them in by herself, so I am helping her, and I've been very upset about it and not trusting her. Anyways, I had, I don't know, breakthrough, but besides just looking at my own sense of judgment or just, not trusting her, I took with my camera, with my phone, I took a picture of her eye, and because she was complaining about it. And sure enough, there was a bubble in there. And because of that technique, I was right, okay, we have to put the contact in again. There's a bubble under there. So anyway, so now I feel a little trust and a little more in harmony with her. And and thanks for the balance of the earlier group. And yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing, Rob. Juliana?
Yeah.
So Jim, thanks for this for this distinction that you really made me aware of about giving, when you're on the hook, and giving when it's because when you're on the hook, what came up for me was so much of, in my example, so much of unfairness, and then for my own peace, but then opening my heart to what maybe the other person's needs, and and then going with kind of I'm contributing to him and getting my peace, but I possibly would not want to transact with that person again. And the second thing, so there wouldn't be much connection there. The second way, whereas giving by the book, it is something about a mutual respect and agreeing and including the other person in the agreement, and so it was a much more connecting and wanting to connect further experience.
Nice. Great.
Yeah.
It's a great transition to the final practice, which is,
Thank you.
well, I don't want to give it away. We'll just go through it. So this one's giving from the heart. So now think of a time when you weren't doing either of the other two. when you just gave something from your heart. Could be an act of service. It could be, a tangible object, be a kind word. There's all kinds of gifts. But think of one that you recently gave. And choose something that you willingly contributed. And again, write down the observation.
Contributed. Yep. Yeah.
You could probably already start guessing the next questions, right? When you think about contributing, how do you feel? So I've got a live one here. Our daughter, Jaya, has a dog living with us now. And Jaya wanted to go out tonight to meet a friend. And she invited us to care for her dog while she's gone. And it took me a while to get there, to be able to willingly contribute, but I did. By the time she actually left, just before the practice group, I had shifted to willingness to have the dog here this evening. And when I think about contributing right now, I feel open, and I'm curious to go meet the dog in about 29 more minutes and see how she's doing and see how she responds to me. So I've got curiosity going, and there's a quality of joy that that my daughter can go and do what she would really like to do tonight with the freedom. So I feel pretty good about it in the moment. And Jory's co-dog sitting with me. How do you
Yes.
feel about it?
Oh, I feel pretty surrendered because I'd already agreed to do it afterwards. And at least this time I insisted that the dog be in her cage until we got done with this class, because last week I did it and
You missed the class.
it's the class. I couldn't stay. The dog was freaking out so much and I didn't know what to do about it.
Yeah. So you feel good about it too.
Yeah.
So notice now, go to your body again. Remember the gift that you gave. And notice how you feel. Notice first, then name it, and then connect to the needs. What needs are alive in you related to this gift? For me, it's about contribution, maybe learning. I can see learning is in here. There's needs met around connection too. I also have some needs that are concerned for me. I'm not sure the dog likes this idea. And so I'm concerned about her having pain. So it's about my own need for integrity.
The birds are just chirping away. I don't know if you can hear them, but all of a sudden they started chirping.
They're celebrating my
Yes,
honesty.
exactly.
So what needs are alive in you? And then last question. Yeah. What's your empathy guess for how it is for the person that received your gift? I'm imagining for our daughter that there's a sense of relief. Maybe she's also got some hope. Maybe she has some apprehension because she's needing some reassurance, and she has a lot of care for this dog.
Mhm.
And for me, and for Mom, Jory. Those are some of my empathy guesses. What are your empathy guesses?
Where are they? Can't find them. There we go.
We're gonna go back to small groups so you can talk about this. And for about 15 minutes, you can talk about all three of these practices.
Mhm. And actually, there's a place where you can give a gift. If you speak any, what language is that?
Japanese.
Japanese, thank you. If you speak any Japanese and are willing to be with a Japanese speaker during this breakout, would you send me a message?
And otherwise, we'll put you into groups after we answer Jeff's question or listen to Jeff's comment. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, can you help me with other words that say like what needs are alive in you? Because what I hear in that is like what needs are met. And I'm wondering about the needs that are unmet because a lot of what I feel is sadness associated with things. And then, so what needs are alive in you? Does that mean
that includes
what's
both?
Unmet?
That includes
Okay.
both. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's both sides of the coin.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So small groups will be 14 minutes. If you're not in one yet, or if you're just alone, just wait a minute and we'll rearrange things if necessary. And see you back here in 15, because it will say 14, but there'll be one extra minute at the end. Okay, here you go. So let's harvest. I want you to think about 3 questions before we finish, and maybe write yourself a little note about what you learned today. The first question is, what are you taking away? As you ask yourself, you just invested 2 hours of your time and practice in your heart. What are you taking away from this practice? And just write yourself a note of an observation or 2. You can either write it to yourself or you could put it into the chat. Next question, if you're ready for another one, which is, how will you use this takeaway from now on? How will you integrate what you learned today into your life from now on? Thank you, Rena, for what you put into the chat.
What she wrote is, these 3 questions help me reflect on the parallel process in my life. From scarcity to abundance, from survival to thrive, from entitlement to trusteeship of the resources, and from independent / dependent to interdependence.
Being more aware of the giving going on, seeing more mutuality from Allison. if anyone would like to be heard out loud, we have time to hear from 2 or 3 people about anything that you're taking away, any harvest or any next steps you'd like to celebrate. So just raise your hand. Let's hear from a few people. Or not. Yeah, Rob.
Yeah, I think I'm in a tangent universe here, but yeah, everything was trust for me today. It was if I trust this process with my myself and my daughter and helping her put her contacts in, then I'm relaxed. You know, even a thought, and then just the greater trust that you know, because otherwise there's this worry and preoccupation with so many things, impressions that just build up in one day from my son saying he's ill or this, that, that. But this trust kind of cleans it out, and I can relax and yeah,
nice.
be sane.
Yeah, trust is like brushing your heart. Instead of brushing your teeth, you're brushing your heart.
Yeah.
Allison, did you change your mind?
Yeah, I just yeah, I changed my mind. And let's hear what David has to say. Thank you, though.
Sure, David.
Yeah, just something I've been thinking about, and what this brings up for me is the sort of something about the culture that we're in and creating by, and it's so easy to fall into the, you know, and I mean, I use Amazon a lot, so, you know, it's easy to do that. But you know, my example of the I can't remember, is after the one you kind of resent, but I wanted to buy a book, and you know, I had really been thinking about this whole issue of culture and what kind of culture am I living in, and I decided to go to a locally owned, you know, small bookstore instead of Amazon or Barnes and Noble, and buy this book. And that was really an intentional, you know, sort of, I really had to think about that, and I'm going to do that, you know, and put the effort into doing it. And it was fun, you know, it was something different, and the whole quality of the interaction was different, and the salespeople seemed really invested in what they were doing, and didn't seem like just a job. So yeah, just that whole idea of culture sort of, you know, really resonates for me in all this.
And your decision to go to the local bookstore is an example of social change, because by supporting local businesses, you're actually helping to create the world I imagine that you want to live in, which has more connection, more trust, more of a sense of mutuality, and so forth. So thank you for making that choice. Yeah, and then Sophia writes, when I noticed from the 3 work sessions, I remember that there are people at the end of actions, and that there is warmth and people of the same blood at the end of actions. That is richness. And it became clear to me that the needs we feel from that are received by each other beyond time and space. I take home with me to pay attention to the feelings and truly enjoy the needs. Thank you all for being with us. If you have more feedback, here's an email address that you can, that goes to both Jory and me. You can let us know your takeaways, next steps, harvests,
Or
requests about what you'd like us to do in future classes, and also any feedback you have about something that didn't work for you. We'd love to look at both sides of the coin, both needs met and needs unmet. They're both precious to us. We will be back next week, and I think we're going to keep this journey going about moving from scarcity to abundance, as Rena pointed out in her takeaway. We taught a class last Friday. Some of you were here for it, but we'll do something similar next Monday. I'm reading a book called Scarcity Brain, and I'm learning so much from the book about some of the latest neuroscience, about scarcity, and I found it being very helpful for supporting self-acceptance and choice. So we'll explore some of the concepts over the next week, and maybe beyond, if it seems like there's life in it for people.
Did
Would
you
you
say
put the name of that-
Scarcity Brain?
Yeah, Scarcity Brain by Michael Easter. If you want to pick up the book at a local bookstore, Scarcity Brain by Michael Easter. I got it on Audible because I like to listen to books rather than read them most of the time. But I'm really enjoying it, and you can also see some YouTube videos of Michael talking about his ideas. Michael Easter, Scarcity Brain. I think he's a professor at the University of Nevada at Las Vegas. So anyway, that's it for today. Joy made connection groups for you if you want to stick around for the after party. We got to go take care of a dog, so we're not going to be sticking around today. But we love you, and we'll see you next week. And thank you all for coming. Aloha.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Thank you, Jory. Happy
Bye.
birthday, Jory.
Bye-bye.
You guys rock.
Happy birthday, Jory.
Not yet, not yet. One more week. Thank you.